You are the type of owner who takes real pride in a clean, fresh-smelling home. You vacuum, you mop, you light the diffuser, and everything feels right. But your dog has been pacing and panting, and you have tried every training approach with no answer. Here is what no trainer will ever check: the plug-in air freshener in the hallway, the citrus floor cleaner in the kitchen, and the lavender diffuser in the bedroom may be running your dog's nervous system into the ground every single day. You did not cause this out of neglect. You caused it out of care. That is what makes this so hard to see. This video is going to walk you through exactly why certain household smells act as invisible stress triggers for your dog, what the science actually says, and how a simple 48-hour trial that costs you nothing might solve a behavior problem you have been blaming on your dog for months. Let us start with something that reframes the entire conversation. Your dog is not experiencing the same home you are. Structurally, a dog's olfactory system contains up to 300 million scent receptors. Humans have around 6 million. That ratio translates to a dog processing scent intensity at roughly 100,000 times the sensitivity you experience. When you walk past a plug-in air freshener and think, "That smells pleasant," your dog is receiving the equivalent of standing directly next to an industrial exhaust vent. What registers as mild to you is physiologically overwhelming to them. And here is the part that matters most. When a scent crosses that threshold, it does not just smell bad, it triggers a response. The nervous system interprets high-intensity synthetic fragrance as a threat signal, not a dramatic, sudden threat, a low-level, constant, inescapable one. That is what produces the pacing, the panting at rest, the inability to settle, the reactivity that seems to come from nowhere. It looks exactly like anxiety. It looks exactly like a training problem. But the source is invisible, and it is coming out of a wall socket. This is what researchers call VOC overload. VOC stands for volatile organic compound. These are carbon-based molecules that evaporate at room temperature and travel through the air. Synthetic fragrances are loaded with them. Every time your air freshener cycles, every time you mop the kitchen floor, every time the fabric softener in your dog's blanket warms up from body heat, VOCs are being released into the air your dog is breathing continuously. Now let us get specific, because two compounds show up in this research more than any others. The first is limonene. You know it as the scent of citrus. It is in your citrus-scented floor cleaner, your orange-based surface spray, and many plug-in refills marketed as fresh or clean. Limonene is not just a scent molecule. In concentrated synthetic form, it is a known irritant that crosses the blood-brain barrier in canines more readily than in humans. Once it does, it activates the sympathetic nervous system, the same system responsible for the fight-or-flight response. Your dog cannot turn that off. They cannot leave the house. They just live inside the activation, hour after hour. The second compound is linalool. This one is in lavender products, which creates a genuinely frustrating irony. You may have switched to lavender specifically because you heard it was calming. And in trace, natural concentrations, lavender does have mild calming properties for humans. But synthetic linalool, the version used in fabric softeners, reed diffusers, and scented candles, is concentrated at levels that produce the opposite effect in dogs. Their nervous system does not read it as calming. It reads it as overwhelming input that cannot be escaped. Here is the part that catches most people off guard. Products labeled natural or plant-based often contain the highest concentrations of both compounds. Because limonene comes from citrus and linalool comes from lavender, manufacturers can call them natural ingredients. The label tells you nothing about concentration. And concentration is everything when you are dealing with a nervous system as sensitive as your dog's. So, what do you actually do with this information? The method is called the 48-hour unscented trial, and it is exactly what it sounds like. Tonight, you unplug every air freshener in the house. You put the diffuser away. You swap your scented floor cleaner for an unscented enzymatic cleaner, which you can find at any pet supply store, and you wash your dog's bedding in fragrance-free detergent. That is the full protocol. No supplements, no training adjustments, no vet visit required at this stage. For the next 48 hours, you observe two specific things. First, resting behavior. Is your dog settling more easily? Are they choosing to lie down in rooms they normally avoided? Second, pacing and panting. Note the frequency and duration. You are not looking for a dramatic transformation. You are looking for a directional shift. Most owners who complete this trial honestly report seeing changes before the 48 hours are even up. Because the moment the source is removed, the nervous system begins to downregulate. There is no lingering chemical dependency. There is no withdrawal. The trigger disappears and the body begins to find its baseline again. A note on replacement: the goal is not to make your home smell like nothing indefinitely. The goal is to stop masking and start ventilating. Open windows when you clean. Use baking soda for odor absorption in carpets. If you want fragrance in your home, choose unscented base products and introduce natural scent through fresh flowers or herbs kept in rooms your dog does not spend significant time in. The critical shift is moving away from continuous chemical diffusion in enclosed spaces your dog cannot escape. Now let us talk about what happens when people actually run this trial. Owners who remove VOC sources and track behavior over 48 to 72 hours consistently report the same pattern. Pacing decreases. Sleep quality improves, often visibly, because the dog begins resting in longer, calmer stretches rather than cycling through restless half-sleep. Reactivity to ordinary sounds and movements at the door drops noticeably. In homes where VOC exposure was the primary trigger, which accounts for a significant portion of unexplained agitation cases, the behavior change is stark enough that owners describe it as meeting a different dog. That is not an exaggeration. It is what happens when a nervous system is finally allowed to stop running a constant background stress response. The dog did not need more training. The dog needed to breathe different air. And here is the reframe that matters. This was never about how clean your home is. A genuinely clean home has no smell at all. Fragrance is added to cleaning products to signal cleanliness to humans, not to achieve it. The scent is marketing. The actual cleanliness is in the removal of bacteria and debris, which unscented products do just as effectively. You can have the cleanest home on your street and eliminate every single one of these triggers at the same time. Those two things are not in conflict. Your pride in your home is completely valid. And now you have a way to honor that pride without it costing your dog anything. Tonight, go unplug one air freshener. Just one. Watch your dog over the next 24 hours and pay attention to how often they settle, how long they rest, whether that low-level restlessness you have normalized starts to fade. If you see a shift, you have your answer, and the fix costs nothing. Share this with someone whose dog has been anxious with no clear reason. They might be one unplugged air freshener away from a completely different dog. Thanks for watching. If you loved this video, scan the QR code on the screen right now to subscribe and join the Pawsome Life family. Give your dog a belly rub for us, and we will see you in the next video.